So let's consider all the different elements that we want to have in an active learning daily routine that's going to give children many opportunities to be active learners. What you need to know about the video clips you're about to see is that they were made in a set-up classroom. We wanted to make a classroom that was small and so that you, when you're listening to the video, could hear everything that was going on. So there's just a small number of children in this room. It's quite a small classroom. We'd also like you to know that I'm the teacher in the classroom doing the demonstrating, but I actually don't know the children at all and they don't know me. So that's an important dynamic that you need to be aware of. Not all of the elements of the daily routine you're going to see are appropriate for all ages of children. And I still think it's useful for you to see them because you don't know what ages of children you might be working with in your teaching career, but we'll talk later about which elements are appropriate to use for which ages of children. So of course children are going to arrive in the morning and it's so important that children feel welcomed. If you think for yourself the difference it is when you go somewhere and someone greets you and welcomes you and really helps you to feel wanted as you arrive. So really think about how you're going to greet each child. So that's the real purpose of that greeting time. And as part of the greeting time for older children, you might want to include something that's called a message board. And the message board helps children learn a little bit about what's going to be on that particular day. So we'll show you a film clip of a message board time, and I'd like you to look and write down what you notice adults doing at message board time and what you notice children doing at message board time, and also to think about why might this be a useful time in the day. What's the purpose of this part of the daily routine? So in a moment, pause the video, get yourself a piece of paper, watch the film clip and write down what you see children and adults doing. You might fancy looking within a minute. But I just need to tell you about what's happening today with our message board. So today, there's a man in our rainbow room, isn't there? And his name is Phil. And Phil's got a camera.
I have a camera in my eye. And Mummy, bring it to me. And Daddy, bring it to me.
So Imogen uses a camera and your dad uses a camera and your mum, and you have it by your eye?
Yeah.
Yeah, the same as Phil's camera? Yeah, so Phil's going to be using his camera today.
Yeah.
But we're just going to be playing. And we've got some new things today. Yeah, these are our new things to play with today.
I've got that in my home.
You've got leaves in your home. And today, what was the weather like when you came to school? What was it like?
I didn't go to school.
You didn't?
I
You did. Did you come in your raincoat today? Because it's rainy. So when we go outside to play. Okay, so the purpose of arrival time and greeting time, message board time, is to really welcome children and perhaps parents, if parents are bringing children into the setting, and really reassure children and have that welcoming time. Children might join in with an arrival song or a welcoming song. You'll know what works best in your particular nursery or class. If you do message board, the purpose of that is really to let children know what's going on in the day and give them information that's relevant for them. You might want to tell children what's going on at small group time. The message board that you saw, we talked about the weather because that's filmed in England and the weather changes very often, and it has an impact on what children do and certainly what they wear when they go outside. But if you live in a sunny place where it's sunny most of the day, you probably don't want to be mentioning the weather. You might want to talk about what snack there is to eat if you have snacks in the day. You might want to talk about who's here and who's absent today. And what happens is, as you draw those symbols on the message board, children learn that those symbols or those words are communicating information. So you're actually doing some very early literacy for children, which I think is a really exciting way to introduce children to the whole idea of communicating through writing and symbols. At that time of day, teachers will talk through the message board with children, and children sit, they share information about the day and their thoughts about the day. So it just gives that day that beginning and gives children that sense of control and predictability about what's going to be going on in that day for them.